Hi, and welcome. You're listening to the X22 Report. My name is Dave, and this is episode 1284B, and today's date is May 19th, 2017, and the title of the episode is, The American People Are Being Distracted If They Only Knew. Let's get into the economic collapse, political and geopolitical news. Now, we can see that the deep state, and of course the corporate media is the mouthpiece for the deep state, they are pushing as hard as they possibly can. Now, I do not believe they're going to let up at all because they can't allow Trump to do what he's doing. They can't let him succeed. They need to get him out of office as fast as they possibly can. And this is why you see all of this information coming out. And remember, you have to understand how propaganda works. Propaganda works by continually repeating it. Now, they're going to use anonymous sources, or we got this information from this individual, but we can't name this individual. This is how propaganda works. They can't back anything up by facts. So what they do is they come out with a story and they spread it out to many different networks. Now, they're all part of the same system, so it will start maybe with the Washington Post, New York Times will pick it up, ABC News, NBC, MSNBC, CBS, CNBC, and the rest of the corporate media. They all pick it up and they continually repeat it. Now, propaganda, for it to work, you need to see it on many different networks, and it has to be repeated over and over and over and over to make you believe. Now, facts, that's completely different. You don't have to continually repeat facts. You can just tell someone a fact and it is believable because there's proof. There's a way to back it up. And what we're seeing right now is that the deep state, they're going to continually push their agenda. And as this investigation goes forward with the special counsel, they're going to leak a lot of different information from anonymous sources. They're never going to give any sources. Government official who wants to remain anonymous. A special source inside the White House. They're going to continually do this, and they're going to come out with little tidbits, which are not true. They need to do this because they don't know what the special counsel's actually doing. Because what we see right now is that Rosenstein is warning Congress right now that they need to stop their probes and let the special counsel investigate the Trump and Russian collusion. The Republican senators, they appear to agree with this. Also, Rosenstein's decision to appoint a special counsel to supervise the Russian collusion is intended, at least in part, to take the heat out of the affair and has been provided by a private briefing Rosenstein has given to the Senate about this decision. And he made it very clear that for the special counsel to conduct the investigation properly, the various congressional committees, which are conducting their own probes into the whole Russian thing, well, they need to rein their investigations in and basically shut them down. That's very interesting. Now, he went on to say, to be clear, this should not be taken to mean that the FBI's counter-espionage investigation is now a criminal probe. And this is exactly what the corporate media is doing right now, and the deep state is doing. They are continually out there making everyone think that this is a criminal probe. And it is not. And he said, I have repeatedly pointed out, so far, no crime has been detected despite 8 months of investigation. So far, they've seen nothing. There's no evidence. There's no crime. They can't find anything. Now, we can see that the deep state, they are moving forward with their plan. And many people have said that Mike Pence, well, he will replace Trump if they can get him out of office. And Pence right now made his unofficial but starting bid to become the U.S. president. He formed an organization to raise funds from billionaires and millionaires. Now, Pence has taken steps to build a war chest, and what he did was he created the Political Action Committee, registered on Wednesday with the FEC. Now, Pence launched the Great America Committee, a leadership PAC, a move that will enable him to channel money to congressional Republicans ahead of the 2018 midterm elections. The Political Action Committee registration was posted Wednesday on the Federal Election Commission website. Now, there are only 4 ways in which Pence can replace the current U.S. president. The well-known method is by the sitting president becoming impeached by 50% plus one member of the U.S. House of Representatives, and then actually removed from office by a subsequent 2/3 vote of the members of the U.S. Senate. The less well-known method is yet more subject to being influenced by the existing holder of the office of the U.S. Vice President, and this is Section 4 of the 25th Amendment. And it goes on and it says the following. Whenever the Vice President and majority of either the principal officers of the executive departments or of such other body as Congress may by law provide, transmit to the President pro tempore of the Senate and the Speaker of the House of Representatives their written declaration that the President is unable to discharge the powers and duties of his office. The Vice President shall immediately assume the powers and duties of the office as acting President. Now, the rest of the 25th Amendment describes the conditions under which the existing President will either become restored to the presidency or else become permanently removed from it, and Vice President finish out the President's existing term. The President then becomes permanently removed only upon 2/3 vote of both houses, and the President is unable to discharge the powers and duties of his office. So whereas the impeachment route entails 2/3 only in the Senate, the disability route, well, that entails 2/3 in each of the two houses. However, the disability route is far easier to start. It entails merely a declaration by the VP plus the vote of 50% plus one of the cabinet. No impeachment trial. Now, the other way is to force the president to resign by continually putting pressure on him or to assassinate him. Those are the only ways they can get rid of the president. Now, Trump, he is launching a probe into Obama's data sharing program on cyber attacks, which allows corporations to take your private data and share it with the government. This is how they got around the Patriot Act, where the NSA, the fusion centers were all spying on the American people, and Obama was out there saying he was going to rein this in, he was going to put an end to this. No, he didn't. All he did was, well, first of all, they haven't stopped spying, but all they did was they created the USA Freedom Act, and they said, okay, the corporations which have all your data, they're just going to give us the information when there's a cyber attack or when we request it. So the U.S. is not really spying on you, we're just collecting the information from all the corporations, which is pretty much the same thing, because they have everything that you're doing. They know exactly who you're speaking to, what you're purchasing. They know everything. So they haven't stopped spying on the people whatsoever. And Trump is taking a closer look at this, just like he's reviewing many other things, like the national monuments and the land that Clinton, Bush, Obama, well, designated as untouchable. He's also looking at NAFTA. He's also looking at many other things. He's reviewing many different things all at the same time. Now, as we know, Trump is continually pushing his agenda with the borders around the United States, and there's a reason why he's doing this. Well, first of all, the globalists, the central banks, the deep state, they wanted illegal immigrants in this country, and they wanted to bring in as many as possible. First of all, it boosts GDP. Second of all, it helps Obamacare. Thirdly, it helps with the low-paying jobs. And they knew eventually, when they got the TPP passed, which it didn't pass, which Trump struck down, they knew that this would become a third world country, and they would be bringing in workers from other countries, and they were going to be getting paid at the rate from their other countries. That would make it very difficult for the everyday American to work in the same exact place, because they would have to reduce their income level to that area. And this is why and also it helped with elections. This is really why they wanted the illegals coming into this country. Now, Trump put a stop to this. The number of illegals that are coming into this country has dropped significantly. He's also drafting a new objective to a state contractor to hire qualified applicants to patrol the borders. Now, there's going to be 500 fully qualified applicants who enter on duty in the first year. The second year is going to be 1,500. Third year, another 1,500. And then the fourth year, another 1,500 to patrol our borders. And this is very important, and we're going to discuss this a little bit later. Now, we can see out in Brazil, things are really not doing well for Michel Temer. And this is the individual that took off for Rousseff. And what we can see right now is that all these politicians, they're all corrupt. There was a leak, and it was revealed in an unsealed JBS plea bargain that all of these politicians were receiving bribes. Rousseff allegedly received around $30 million in bribes. Temer has received around $15 million in bribes. And of course, Temer, who is backed by the United States government central bankers, the deep state, he's saying that, hey, I have nothing to do with this, and I'm going to fight this. And basically, he's in the same exact boat as Rousseff right now, and the country's looking at him saying, you're doing the same exact thing. And we can see that all of these countries, all of these government officials, most of them are on the take, or they're doing something else illegal. It's time to clean house everywhere. We see in Venezuela, things are actually getting worse. We see that the police are using water cannons on the people, and the situation there is just deteriorating. And the reason it is deteriorating is because the U.S. government central bankers have cut off the banking system. They are the ones who are doing it to the people because they want regime change there, and this is the MO they follow. Now, Venezuela, they are furious at the U.S., the Treasury Department, the deep state, because they just sanctioned 8 judges, and they're not allowing them to leave the country. They can't have, their assets are frozen, and we can see the sanctions that the deep state puts on all these different countries. It doesn't benefit the country. It actually hurts the country. It starves the people. It makes it difficult for the people to do things. The country deteriorates, and this is exactly what they use sanctions for. Now, Trump is out there, and he's pledging to do whatever is necessary to help with Venezuela. He's going to provide humanitarian assistance. He's going to address the deteriorating situation in Venezuela. He's looking at the collapsing economy. And of course, the deep state, they don't want him to fix anything. They're going to be fighting him all the way. Now, we're getting reports, and this is coming out from CNN, that the USS Ronald Reagan, which helped with Fukushima, which had a problem with radiation, it has left the port in Japan. It is now headed towards the Korean Peninsula. And it's supposed to meet up with the USS Carl Vinson and then replace the Carl Vinson later on. Now, the question is, and of course they're building it up like, now we have 2 aircraft carriers outside of North Korea and we're getting ready to attack. No, that's not what they're doing. What I'm more nervous about is that the ship right now that was in port helping out with Fukushima has been flooded with radiation. Now, they're saying everything is fine, everything's repaired, everything's good to go. But we know they lie. And most likely, the ship is still flooded with radioactivity. Now, they can do something very simple to start the war. All they have to do is sink the aircraft carrier and go forward and detect for radioactivity and say that North Korea used a small nuke on the ship and sank it. And this is very suspicious that they're bringing the USS Ronald Reagan over to this area. Now, Mattis is out there and he's saying, listen, we looked at the military solution in North Korea, and this would be tragic on an unbelievable scale. And he says, we're not going down that route. We're looking at a diplomatic solution. Now, North Korea came out and said, listen, if the U.S. would roll back its hostile policy against North Korea would have a dialogue between the two countries. Now, maybe this is what Trump was talking about, special conditions, because all the U.S. has to do is pull back from its hostile policy and say, okay, now you stop your nuclear test. We're both agreed. We can have talks. And we're going to have to watch this very carefully. Now, in Syria, we understand that the U.S. came out and they bombed the Syrian forces. Lavrov is out there saying that U.S. airstrikes against the pro-government forces in Syria was illegitimate and unlawful regardless of what had caused it. Now, of course, the reason why the deep state wanted to keep the Syrian forces back, it's because they want the border, because this is where the troops come in from Jordan. They don't want to give that up. But again, Syria, the Syrian forces were in their own territory. They're in their country. It's a sovereign nation. And the deep state went out and attacked them. Now, this is a very dangerous situation. Now, the deep state, they're saying that the Syrian forces, they came into their de-escalation zone. So we can see already they're saying that these are off limits to the Syrian forces. But again, this is the Syrian government's country. It's the Syrian people's country. It's not the US's. They're the invading force. So we're going to have to see how this all plays out. But we can see they are protecting the border because this is how they move the paid mercenaries in and out of Syria. Now we see the House, they passed a bill to crack down on Syria's financial backers. They're trying to shut down Assad and basically destroy his war machine. And we can see right now that, again, Assad is fighting the terrorist groups inside of his country, and that's exactly what Russia is doing also. Now, I wanted to get into Trump's plan here. Now, we understand the Belt and Road, which is going to be rail lines, shipping lines, all throughout Asia going into Europe. And right now, the New Silk Road consists of about 70 nations. And we can see that China has signed more than 130 bilateral and regional transport agreements. It has opened 356 international road routes. And we see that there are many countries that are signing on to this. Trump is actually looking at this. And he's working with Russia, he's working with China, he's working with North Korea, he's working with South Korea, he's working with all of these countries, Philippines, because he understands that the dollar, the system that we're in, it's dead, it's dying. And we are going to need trade, and we're going to have to be part of this. And if you look at what the proposal is with all these railroad lines, they're all over Europe, and actually they're going over into Russia, through the Bering Strait, down into Alaska, into Canada, into the United States, and then into South America, plus there's shipping routes. Now, while the deep state is keeping everyone busy with the Russian collusion, and he said this, and ice cream, and all this other stuff that they're talking about, Trump is continuing with his plan. Now, they don't want the American public to know what he's doing, because if they found out what he was doing, the people would start asking questions. Now, he's planning for the future of America. The old globalist system, well, it's dying. It's almost dead. The US dollar will no longer be the reserve currency of the world. Free trade will be needed to continue by producing and manufacturing. This is why he's talking about bringing back jobs, bringing back manufacturing. It's all for afterwards. He's working with China, North Korea, and many other nations to develop this new system and to bring the United States into the fold. Now, what does Trump have on the deep state, and what is he preparing for? Well, he has proof that judges, congressmen, they've all been spied on and they've been blackmailed. He knows that certain individuals are completely corrupt. He realizes that there's a pedophile ring, and he needs to expose this. And a lot of individuals in Congress, they will be going to jail. He also has the proof of where all the funds have been going, and where he doesn't have proof, he's going to audit certain areas like the Pentagon. He's going to cancel trade deals. He's going to renegotiate trade deals like NAFTA. It has to be done. He is reviewing the land that Clinton, Bush, and Obama has set aside, because there's minerals, there's oil, and things like that. They put this aside because it's collateral for the debt. And he's reviewing all of this. He's reviewing the H-1B1 visas because the jobs have to come from the United States. We cannot take foreign workers into the country right now. Manufacturing will need to be brought back into the United States. This is why he's trying to make these deals. It's not for right now. It's after the system is restarted. He's going to have to remove certain regulations and put old regulations back into place. He's going to remove Dodd-Frank. He's going to bring back Glass-Steagall, even though Steve Mnuchin, the Treasury Secretary, said no, Trump is not bringing back Glass-Steagall. He was arguing with Elizabeth Warren, and he was very confusing in what he was trying to do. Now, he is part of the deep state. He is working for the deep state. He's not really working for Trump. Now, again, the bankers, the deep state, they don't want this to happen. They're going to try to stop him at every single turn. Wars in the Middle East, wars in Afghanistan, wars in North Korea, that has to end. Troops have to be brought back to the United States. This is what he's working on right now, because once the system collapses, it's going to be very difficult to get all the troops home. So he's trying to get them all home before this happens. Now, the deep state, they are advising him to send more troops out because they want to keep the wars going. Now, we can see right now that the borders will need to be closed, because when the system comes down, we're going to have to make sure the country is secure and make sure that illegals don't come into the country and other individuals try to get into the country. So this is why he's working very hard to secure the borders. Now, if his plan works, what does this mean? It means that the easy money will be gone. The control over countries will be gone because they will not be able, the deep state will not be able to sanction. Warmongering will be gone because they will not have the printing press. They will not be able to print as much as they possibly can. The third of Congress most likely will be arrested. I think there's going to be more because of corruption charges, pedophilia, and many other things. They will be completely gone. The central bank will either be gone, or Trump is going to do what Putin has done, take control of the central bank, and it will no longer be a private central bank. Now, Trump the other day, maybe it was a week ago or 2 weeks or whenever he said it, he said he's a nationalist and a globalist, and everyone freaked out. Oh my God, he said he's a globalist. See, that's proof he is a globalist. Think about what he is saying. First, he's a nationalist. He's going to work for the best interest of the people and bring the country back again. He needs to be a globalist because you need to work with the rest of the world. You need trade. You need to join up to the Belt and Road and the Silk Road and work with China. He understands this. He has to be both. You're foolish if you think that, oh, he can just be a nationalist and just basically shut everyone out. You can't do that in today's world. It's completely impossible. We will need the trade. We will not be the reserve currency of the world anymore. This is why he came out and said this. It doesn't mean he's flipped over to the globalist side. It doesn't mean that at all. Now, the deep state, they're going to continually distract everyone. They don't want people to understand or know what is going on. And they're going to try to remove Trump through legal channels right now. That's what they're trying to do. They want him impeached, or they want to say that he's he's mentally disturbed and he can't be president. That's the path they're going down. And during this investigation, you're going to see crazy things come out of the corporate media because this is all they have. They have propaganda. And they're going to drip out little tidbits of what's going on, even though it's fake. And they're going to continually do this. And each time the stock market falls, because it seems like they're getting closer and closer to impeaching Trump and the market drops, they're going to say, see, it's his fault. Now, during the process, they're going to try to weaken Trump at every turn, and hopefully, maybe he resigns. This is their plan. Now, if all of this doesn't work, they will try to assassinate him. They will bring down the economy. They will collapse it. They will blame it on Trump. They'll create chaos around the world, which will lead to war. And once it's all said and done, he will then be removed. This is their plan. Now, his plan is to set everything up and bring down the economy and control the narrative and get rid of all the things that we talked about and even more. And it is a battle right now. It is a race. And you can see you have the propaganda and you have the behind the scenes plan. And North Korea is very important because there's a rail line that runs from South Korea to North Korea into China. All of this has to be set in place. This is why he's working with North Korea. This is why he's working with China, Russia, and the rest to put all of this in place for once the collapse happens. He has everything in place to rebuild America and make America great. Listen, everyone, thanks a lot for listening. Be well, be safe, and especially be prepared. Thanks a lot.